गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in the 6th section of this chapter, of this book, and it is under the 2nd chapter. And the first verse we saw was about the Ashwatha tree, the fig tree, the peepal tree, which is upside down, and it is verily pure, that is Brahman, and that is also called immortal, in that rests all the world and none can transcend it. Verily this is that. And then in the 2nd verse, there it was told that when they are telling you about that the reality is like an upside down tree, we have to recognize that its roots are getting nourished by the reality. And this creation is an endless process. For who? Not for the reality, for you. For you, creation is endless. It is going on. When it will come to an end, you don't know. So, recognize that it is getting nourished from that one reality, and this is verily that. You cannot deny the creation just because you have become spiritual. But initial stages we do deny it, only to rediscover it in a different way. So what are we denying? We are denying our attachment to name and form. That's the main thing that we are denying. And when we re-educate ourselves, when we change our vision, which is the intuitive vision, then we recognize that even this name and form, everything that you see, hear, touch, feel, taste is pervaded by that reality, nourished by that reality, maintained by that reality, and destroyed within that reality. And when the creation is coming and going, nothing is happening to the reality. It is the soul nourisher. And in this way, the person who comes to know this fact and does not deny the world, and recognizes that this world is nothing but the reality, as it is getting nourished by the reality, he knows that, or this is that, the teacher says, and the student has to recognize that is that. And then in the 2nd verse, the whole universe evolved from Brahman, moves, vibrates in the pranas, in the highest Brahman. The Brahman is a great terror, like an uplifted thunderbolt. Those who know this become immortal. And here we saw that the entire creation is a vibration, and the vibration can only happen on a unvibrating substratum. And that substratum is the reality. And for that we gave you some examples, that the substratum of moving river, changing river is the riverbed, the mirage waters is the sand, of all the ornaments coming and going is the gold, of the pots being created and broken is the mud. And this way there has to be some permanent fundamental principle based on which the forms can come and go, the change can come and go. And that change, here it is being told that change is because of vibration, and that vibration alone is expressing as the creation. And we went into the detail of it, and the one who recognizes it as this is that. So suddenly, before it was about the upside down tree, now it is about the energy, and then the one again, that all the laws of nature, or nature is only for us on the planet. The universal laws which are throughout the universe. All the universal laws and the laws of nature have to, without fail, listen to this reality, the Brahman. How dare they not? He is there, everyone has to function. The planets have to move around, the sun has to give light, the eyes have to do what they are supposed to do, the ears have to do what they are supposed to do, the hands have to do, but some human beings are very unique. They want to walk on hands, not on legs. You know, some of them, you go to circus and we clap afterwards. So, hand is not meant for walking, hand is meant for serving. Legs are meant for walking. Walk on leg, be normal. And here the word used was prana ejati nisrutam and then mahadvayam vajramudyatam. So it's as if that it is a great terror and with a thunderbolt, because of the fear of which every law in this universe is followed by all the elements. The fire doesn't say that I want to become space, how long it will take me to become space. Or the fire doesn't say, why am I always burning? I think I like to become water. No, he will do his job, the water will do his job. Everyone is doing their job. And so also, man has been given a choice, so he must also do what he is supposed to do. Here, today we have a society, I am just digressing a little bit. Today we have a society where everyone is asking about their rights. What about my rights? Woman right, children right, prostitute rights also. Now they have got a representation in the parliament, in the Victorian parliament. They are making their own party. This is amazing. And then a eunuch party will be there. And this way everyone is asking for what are my rights. But has anyone ever done their duty? When everyone starts doing their duty, everyone's wishes will be automatically satisfied. If the Prime Minister was doing his duty, he will not be thrown out of the government. Because he is not doing his duty, so he is changed. If the father is not doing his duty and the mother is doing everything at home, naturally there will be fight. If the children are not doing their duty, what is their duty? That they have to study. That's what they are born for. Only study till they grow up. And play, yes, but it has to be in balance, and that has been, when you go to school you study, the homework you do, whatever rest of the time you play. Depending upon what parents allow you to play. So everyone has their role cut out. And how do you know what is your role cut out? You take Bible, you take whatever scripture, there the role is given, how you are supposed to behave. So when everyone does their duty, if husband is doing his duty, a wife will be happy, what a wonderful husband I have got. If wife is doing her duty, husband will never think of leaving her. If children are doing their duty, parents are proud of their children. They are not thinking, they are not continuously complaining. Look at that fellow, he is studying, he is playing, he is good in everything, and you are only good at watching TV. Then comparison will not come. So in this manner, not only everything in the world, including man, he must also follow. Yes, in general, the law is being followed. What is the law? Birth, growth, disease, decay and death. That law he is following. He has got no choice over it. He is born, he grows, there is disease, then he gets decayed and then he dies eventually. But when he starts following all those laws in his life, why he doesn't follow? Because desire. Because he has become an egocentric personality. And that ego is only on account of consciousness identified with the mind. In the mind are the desires. So I only want this. He is not wanting the reality. If he starts thinking about the reality, that mind and intellect, if they start thinking about the reality, automatically his life will become a disciplined life. Automatically. Even if he doesn't study the scriptures or nothing he needs. Just the desire to know the truth, if that gets ignited within him, automatically his life gets regulated. His life becomes the perfect life. He will speak less, big help for the society if one person starts speaking less. He will not interfere in other people's problem. He will not eat too much. Then if he eats too much, he will sleep too much. If he sleeps too much, he is groggy in the morning. And this way it has got its, what do you call, multiple effects. Each thing leads to the next. But when he is thinking about the reality again and again, he forgets that he is the body. The more intensely he thinks, first he forgets about the world, then he forgets about the body, then he forgets about breathing also. Then he forgets that I have some desires, because all the desires have been overpowered by this intense desire to know the reality. And once that intense desire catches hold of you, then he starts thinking. And lot of people you must have seen even in the devotional devotees who follow their Lord, what would Lord like from me? And then they start behaving in that manner. Oh, Lord would not like that I should speak badly to another person. Lord will not like if I misappropriate someone else's money. Lord would not like that if I beat another person up. So whatever Lord does not like, He will not do. Lord will not like if I eat too much. Why? If I eat too much, I will sleep. If I sleep, then I will not be able to remember Him. So He eats less. And whatever He eats, He also offers it to Him. So same thing. In there, because of the Lord, he is afraid or he is trying to please, both ways. And automatically he starts living a perfect life, a single pointed life, which is geared towards the divine. Same way in this verse also, that Brahman is holding the thunderbolt, and because of him, everyone else is behaving properly except human being. Why? He has not recognized his Brahman. He says, I am Brahman's father. What is Brahman? What is reality? I am the father of reality. Hindi में अच्छा बोलता है, मैं Brahman का बाप हूँ. And therefore he thinks he can get away with all his licentious behavior. And eventually comes at the crossroads of his life, where he finds, oh my God, I made a mistake, I should have corrected. But now he has lived this life and believed in the way that he was living so much that he is not ready to accept in front of anyone or to himself that I made a mistake. Isn't it? This is our lot. Very rare few are there who say that yes, I made a mistake, Baba, I will change. But he doesn't want to. Why? Because he has created such an intense passion for the wrong way of life. He has never thought about the divine. He thought he can do it, he can do it, he can do it. And he knows he has not been able to do it. And he doesn't want, the mind doesn't want to accept that there is a higher power. Eventually depression, eventually suicide. That's the worst case scenario. Some people enjoy suffering all their life. So they continue. So in this manner, the only sure way to get out of everything is increase your desire to know the truth and get liberated while living. Not tomorrow, not in this lifetime, now, while listening. It is possible. And why it is possible, it will come. Bhayad asyagnistapati, bhayat tapati suryaha, bhayad indrascha vayuscha, mrityur dhavati panchama. So for the fear of this Brahman, the reality, the self within, the fire burns. For fear of him, the sun shines. For the fear of him, the Indra does his duty. For the fear of him, the Vayu, the air, moves around. And in those times, these four were the deities. And the fifth one, he says, and the fifth, the death, does its job. If death would not do its job, there will be calamity on this planet. So even though we went to the mountains today and we saw so much destruction, but that is, in nature there is one thing. If I don't know if you have noticed, there is never destruction. There is constructive destruction. So anything that dies, all that has, what we saw, the burnt ash, there was smell of ash also, everything has become manure for the ground now. And the next generation of plants that will come, it will come. And when they come, that is the food for them. And when they grow up and they are 30, 40, 50 years, again another fire will come, it will destroy them. And again that will become the food. And again the next generation will come. And this way it goes on and on and on. It will happen to you also. You are a generation, you created a child, eventually you will die. And everything that you have created, your children will enjoy. If you don't spend it beforehand. So, whenever there is too much burden on this earth, nature balances itself out. Understand this. And that is the law of nature. That is the law that is functioning because Brahman is there, the reality is there. Otherwise, can you see any person who is making the law? Oh, someone saying, sun keep shining, fire keep burning, water keep flowing. Is someone saying that? No, but we know there is someone. Who is that? The reality. This reality is that, and recognize you are that. Don't forget. Otherwise you keep thinking, where is that reality? You are that. And where do you have to catch it? In the cave of your heart. And in this way, they all proceed, continue with their functions. And now we come to the fourth verse. Iha chedashakad bodhum praksharirasya visrasaha tatah sargeshu lokeshu sharirattvaya kalpate. If here in this life one is able to comprehend him, the reality, the Brahman, before the death of the body, he will be liberated from the bondage of the world. If not, then one has to take body again and again in the world of creation, in the worlds of creation. Why worlds of creation? I can see only one world. No, there are many worlds. There are many planes of existences, if you believe. In Christianity they say there is heaven. In ours we are a bit more imaginative. One is not enough. 7 up and 7 down. So as you go down, greater and greater hell. As you go up, greater and greater heaven. And beyond these 14 planes of existences is the reality. And that I am. And those 14 worlds are represented within this body also. So below your coccyx are the 7 worlds which go below, and there are 7 worlds which go above from the center of your body. We will not go into all that another day. So if here in this life one is able to comprehend him, why did they not say that you comprehend here means that you come to realize him. But to realize first you have to comprehend. Once you come to know him, knowing and being is not separate. Is knowing Stanton and being Stanton two separate phenomena? Huh? I guess you are multiple personality disorder, isn't it? She says yes. Knowing Stanton and being Stanton is one and the same thing. I am me. Swami is me. I am not. Oh, Swami, who's Swami? I don't know who's Swami. Let me look for him. Where is he? And schizophrenic personality comes out. This is Swami. And then this is the son. We are all schizophrenics. No, but we know that knowing and being is one. As long as I know the apple outside, it is a relative knowledge. But when that knowledge becomes one with me, which is that apple, when that apple becomes, when I eat it, then I really know it. Till now I was only knowing the shape, isn't it? Till now I was only knowing, it is like this, it is this taste, but I don't know what the taste is. I don't know, is it crunchy or is it soft? I don't know nothing about it except its shape. And if it is written made in Brazil or made in China, the sticker is stuck on it. That's all. But the moment it goes into my mouth and assimilates with me, immediately knowing and being is simultaneous, isn't it? So same way here, knowing reality is being reality. And here the teacher is saying that come to know and be before the death comes, before this physical body passes away. Why before this body passes away? Because maybe you were too attached to your cat. If the cat was more important than the reality, then next life, meow, meow. Dangerous. And not dangerous, another opportunity, but then free milk, free injection, free food, if you are born in Australia. But birth is always painful. Growth is always painful. And we think the child keeps wanting to become grown up and grown up wants to keep becoming a child. This is the joke. So nobody is happy. But they make believe everyone that everything is hunky-dory. So the real happiness in life is obtained when we come to know and realize our essential nature. Knowing that I am the body, knowing that I am a son, knowing that I am a teacher, knowing that I am a student, knowing that I am a brother, all these things only bring pain. I went through one example just now. I was coming back from India and I had to give 3 days satsang in Singapore. So I had already booked my flight and my sister has just built a house. And she said, oh, why you are not coming to my opening house of warming ceremony and this and that, mummy is coming, you are not coming. I said, you change my flight, $200 you pay. That she is not ready to do. But why you are not coming and my brother is not coming, you pay. Or she could have delayed. She knew that I was coming on the 17th. Delayed by one week. But that also is not. So they try to. So problem from there also. Problem from mother also. Problem from husband also. Problem from wife also. No relationship can be ever happy. It is not possible. There are always, we say, married life is only interesting if there are spices in married life. Spices means continuous fights. That is spice. What funny. And we feel good about that we made that statement. And we laugh about it also. And in every party, in every social gathering, somewhere or the other, such type of dialogues are said and they satisfy themselves. That, So, recognize everything that is changing, everything that is ephemeral, everything that is finite, everything that is born, everything that is dying cannot give you permanent happiness. And that permanent happiness can be gained only by knowing the essential self. So know what is essential self? Word-wise I am saying, first know it like that, then prepare yourself to move towards it and become it. And once you have become that, once you are abiding in it, from that moment onwards, for such a person, there is no sorrow, there is no misery, there is no fear, there is no birth, there is no death. Why? I am all that I am. Finished. Story over. All the miseries that we feel at present in life, in toto, it will vanish. Even on the journey, it will start vanishing. But people are very smart. They go into samadhi, they get escape from the miseries, but when they come out of meditation, the misery is waiting for them. Thank you for coming back. What misery? You sit in meditation, got up at 6 o'clock. Om. Nicely went into deep meditation. But you came out of meditation, but you don't feel like coming out. You're still sitting there with your eyes closed. Then someone is banging the door, someone is flushing the toilet, and when you come out, Swamiji, the moment you come out of meditation, after some time, I think we should tell them that they should not make the noise. Misery was waiting. Hunger was waiting. You're enjoying, but the moment class finishes, the rats will be calling you, let's move towards the dining area. Misery is always waiting. There is enough for everyone. No shortage. So don't think that you can live in this world and be permanently happy. It is not possible. As an egocentric personality, as a conditioned personality, as a limited being, it is impossible to be permanently happy while living in this world. But while living in this world, if we rediscover ourselves as that infinite reality, then yes, then you have reached the kingdom of God. That itself is kingdom of God. And for such a person who has reached there, there is no return, there is no bondage of this world. If not, then one has to take a body again and again in the world of creation. Worlds of creation, not world of creation, worlds of creation. Then such a person who has not come to know himself, he again and again, depending upon what was his intense desire within his bosom, which he has cultivated throughout his life, that is the abode that he will go to. If he cultivated that I want to be a great musician, then you will go into the Gandharva lok. And if you had cultivated that I want my chakras to be, and he is stuck at the 5th chakra, for example, so he'll go to the 5th abode. If he's stuck at the top one, he'll go to the top one, the Satya lok. So wherever he finds himself, he'll go there. So here another way of looking at it is told, and that is that just like a person when he goes into a dream and he's dreaming something, and in that dream if he sees a tiger, you don't wake up and then say, oh, I have to find a rifle to shoot the tiger. He doesn't. If you are in the dream and if you are experiencing, because now we have gone to these Marysville where all the fire had ravaged and that impression remained, and tonight you go to sleep and you see fire raging, and suddenly out of fear you wake up out of your dream and suddenly, where is water hose? I want to. Do you do that? In the dream, you ate the nice dinner made by Lalita and it created a deep impression. And when you are dreaming tonight, you are seeing all the sweets that she made in the whole week, and you are enjoying this also and enjoying this also and enjoying, because in dream you can go through 7 days. But when you wake up, do you say, oh, I'm not going to have breakfast, why I ate enough in the dream? You don't do that. Why? You have woken up. You have woken up. So when you have woken up to yourself, then you will not go and try to satisfy any desire of this world. Just like when you wake up, do you go and satisfy any desire of the dream? You don't, isn't it? Exactly the same way. When we wake up to our essential nature, when we wake up to this reality within, which is just behind the ego sense, drop the ego sense, recognize the real sense, then there is no coming back into this world of change. Just like after waking up, you do not go and satisfy the desires of the dream. Same way, once you have reached the kingdom of God, there is no question of coming back into this world and I want to spend time. I had a desire, and that desire was to build a temple, or to build a church, or to go and start an orphanage, or whatever. All desires in toto will be burnt away. Then what will happen? How will you survive? How will you function in the world? Then the total mind, totality functions through. Then the total mind functions. It knows how to, because it is all that there is. But as an individual, whatever desires you have, that will be gone. And don't worry, it is the best thing. Because these desires are only what are making you miserable. And that's what why we are coming here, why we are reading books, why we are going to church, why we are going to temple, why do we chant Om, why do we do anything in life. It is only to get rid of the misery and gain some happiness in life. Whether it is music, whether it is painting, whether we went on the top of the mountain or we came down the mountain. Everything is to get away from the misery and gain happiness. But we don't want that happiness which can be replaced by misery. We want bliss, and that bliss is possible only by coming to know and be who you essentially are. This is the theme that is going on. Etad vaitada. This is that. This is that. This is that. So here is an example that we have just given you, because I know someone was asking this question, that after we come to realize, then this world will not be there. But I don't want that reality then, if I don't get this world, if I have to lose this world. But this world, what has it given you other than misery? Has it ever given you happiness? Only temporary doses. Always a long period of misery and a little bit joy. Then again a long bit of misery and a little bit joy. And again long bit of misery and little bit joy. And what is that misery? Your effort to gain that little bit joy. See? We want every moment the joy to express. Without a reason. Without a reason. So first find out what you want. Do you want this? Then continue. So in this way, so as long as the person has not discarded the identification with the senses, identification with the mind, identification with the intellect, and don't disidentify with the intellect without making the intellect first come to the right conclusion what it wants. You discard the intellect. You can do that. You do pranayam, it will happen. You will go into samadhi. But when you come out of samadhi, the world is still there. So first be very clear what you want. So that program must go in. That's why we come to satsangs. So in this manner, as long as the individuality is there, the problems, miseries will be the norm. And once the subjective experience of the reality takes place, at that very moment, all the I-ness and my-ness will vanish once and forever. What is I-ness? I-ness is the ego, minus all the attachments. Everything will be dropped in toto. Not only about the world, in that world also is included your body, mind, intellect, breath. Everything will be gone. And many people initially feel afraid. Everything will not, I will not be able to think. I will not be able, then I can't enjoy mango. Don't worry, you will enjoy mango. It will be more tastier than what you enjoy now. Then I will not enjoy satsang, you will enjoy satsang even more. Why? Every word will be reminding you of yourself. And you will be thinking, see, what Swamiji is talking, only he is talking because I am there. How much more joy? In this manner, this idea that I am an individual, this idea that there is an ego, itself is born out of delusion. It is not a reality. It is a ghost. Where is this ego? Find? You can't find it. Then how do you accept it? Why do you accept it? So here the teacher is, the Shruti, the scripture is warning us that if all sincere seekers seek this reality and are walking the path of reality, they must put utmost efforts in one go. Don't dilly-dally, for reality, meditation time. No. First I'll have dinner and then I'll have meditation. No, it must be like there is no tomorrow. Put all your efforts. Give yourself. Okay, I give myself 1 month and forget about hunger, thirst, bath, everything. Whatever you drop everything and go after it. And see what happens. So here it's warning us. If you are wanting to know the reality, go 150% behind the reality. Put all your physical, mental, intellectual efforts into it and realize it. Because if you don't realize it, you will be the most miserable person. Because neither you know that there is a reality that I have to realize, that I am essentially. And on the other hand, you are taking it the slow way, and the slow way will never take you there. It will take, by the end of time, yes, you will reach. But you want to go through the hardship for a concentrated period of time, or you want to go through hardship for an elongated period of time, which is till the end of time. No, naturally the nature will take me back to reality. Yes, it will. But how long? Oh my God, that many years. No, better I put all the efforts now and finish it off. Finish the story. See? So here they say that if not, then one has to take a body again in the worlds of creation. So be very clear about what your goal is, what is the final goal that you want to achieve in this lifetime. The reason man is born is only for this final goal, for this final perfection. And I have told you before, and we have seen the creation part, isn't it? That the soil, the rock, the existence, reality is existence, consciousness, bliss. That existence which is manifesting through rock as existence, that reality, that rock, over the millions of years, it will slowly become soil, it will become dust, that dust goes and nourishes the soil, then that plant pulls that nourishment into itself. That plant is a higher creation than rock, isn't it? Then that plant is eaten by an elephant, and then elephant is a greater creation than the grass, or cow is a better creation than the plant kingdom. Then the cow's milk, you can't drink elephant milk, but cow's milk is drunk by human beings. Then human being is the next creation, the same nourishment, which the cycle of which began from the existence in the rock. That same existence came to the plant as consciousness, little bit of consciousness expressing, then came to the animals, the same nourishment. Now animal is existing also and conscious also, more conscious than a plant kingdom. And now that same nourishment is taken by the mankind, and he is existing, he is conscious, and he can smile. Bliss. Existence, consciousness, bliss. But that bliss is lot of breaks in it. There is some misery also coming. So he starts saying, how can I stop this misery and become more blissful? And he starts practicing, he starts finding different ways. And unfortunately, majority of the humankind look for the bliss in the objects of the world. I'm repeating this again, I don't know how many more times it will come. And as long as he is looking for the objects of the world and happiness in them, he will never become complete. So what is the next stage of evolution of man? Is the next stage of evolution of man to become a slave of objects of the world? To become a slave of a woman or a husband? To become slave and work like a donkey for next 25 years for your children? Is that the next evolution? Then what is the next evolution? To recognize his potential. And that potential, first stage may be, yes, I can be a husband. That's first potential. Suddenly you realize. Next potential, a little bit more. I am a father also. Next potential, I am a father of nation also. Next potential, as we are going up the ladder, I am the father of this, not only a nation, of the planet. Our gods are the fathers, our Jesus is the father, our Ramakrishna are the father. They are fathers. Many people consider them as they become the God. So is that where you stop on this planet? You keep developing the potential more and more and more, and the final perfection is abiding in yourself. And if man cannot abide in himself, who else can? Ghosts can't. And those people who are living in the heavens, they can't. See? Why they can't? Because they don't have a problem of old age, they don't have a problem of hunger and thirst. So all their energy is going in satisfying their desires in that world. Heaven is where all your desires get satisfied. You never get old and you never have hunger and thirst. Because of hunger and thirst, we slog so much. Every day look for a job, every day go to the Centrelink, every day do something or the other only for hunger and thirst. You can live without a shelter, but without food and things, how will you live? And in the heavens that problem is taken away. So, and we have seen before that even the gods cannot know this truth. Why? Because they are already so engrossed, indulgent in the satisfying their desires that very rarely, no chance they have to think about the divine. Only when a great problem comes at the end of time, they will have please, they will go along with everyone. Only human being has that golden chance. Only human being. No other aspect of this creation has that opportunity that has been given to us. To unfold ourselves within our lifetime to know that reality. Don't waste it. Otherwise, you will come back again. Like what? That you decide. Probably you have decided already. So if I am speaking so much, what will I come back as? Microphone. So the whole point that is made here is not to scare you, but to inspire you. That take advantage of this opportunity that we have been given as a human being. Don't waste it. Perfect yourself. And that perfection is the ultimate evolution of man. It is very easy to become an animal man. It is very easy to become a plant man. It is also very easy to become a stone man. Stone man, the one who always enjoys sleeping, doesn't want to get up. The whole life passes by, he is sleeping and watching TV. The food comes, the servants come, someone changes the shoe, someone turns him over, changes the clothes, gives sponge bath, but he, like a slob, he is there. Animal man who is very lusty after the world, continuously desire after desire after desire. Even animals behave better than that animal man. They follow the rules. Man doesn't when he becomes an animal. Look at someone when they become angry, or look at yourself when you become angry. Immediately go in front of the mirror. See how beautiful you look. You will laugh at yourself. That's one trick of dissipating anger. Keep a mirror in your pocket. The moment anger comes, you will laugh. You cannot but laugh at yourself. So, if we have made this point, we'll move to the next. So here the teacher has so as we have been born as men and as human beings, take this opportunity, apply all your energy in wanting to know the truth, in knowing the truth, in realizing the truth, in being the truth. And for that, the minimum that you have to do is control your senses, control your mind, direct your intellect. And that was given in the chariot parable, that the 5 horses are the senses, the reins are the mind, and that rein, the mind, must be yoked, must be tethered to the intellect. And the charioteer's seat on the chariot is the seat of intellect. The stronger the conviction of the intellect, to that extent the mind will be tethered or yoked to the charioteer. And the senses will automatically remain in check. So does that mean I just keep thinking about a higher idea in the intellect and automatically everything happen? Yes, it will. Trust the process. But make your mind single pointed. The intellect. Let it think only about one thing, and that is, who am I? Who am I essentially? And in this way, take the opportunity and realize. In the 5th verse now, Yatha darshe tathatmani, Yatha swapne tatha pitruloke, Yatha supariva tadrushe, Tatha gandharvaloke, Chaya tapayoriva brahmaloke. Some funny tune. Yatha darshe tathatmani, लोके यथा सुपरीव ददृशे तथा गंधर्वलोके छाया तपयोरेव ब्रह्मलोके. We'll find out another time what the tune is. What it says is, Brahman is seen in the self, the reality is seen in the self as one sees oneself in the mirror. In the world of mains, means the world of ancestors, as one perceives oneself as in a dream. In the world of Gandharvas, that is the musicians, where I'll explain, as one's reflection is seen in the water, what is that? As one's reflection is seen in the water. And in the world of Brahma, that is the creator, as distinctly separated as light and shade. So these are the few examples given. And here we will see what does it mean that the reality is seen in the self as one sees oneself in the mirror. How do you see yourself in the mirror? As a reflection. Nothing esoteric about it. See, so everyone thinking, how do I see what answer? As a reflection. So, if you see yourself as a reflection, I think today you shaved, didn't you?
Yes.
Shaved?
Yeah.
So you looked at the reflection and you saw the mirror, how beautiful I look. And you took the razor, and you started taking the foam and you put the foam on the reflection and you started shaving. Do you do that?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. To get the kick out of it, or we look in the mirror, but when we look in the mirror at the reflection, that reflection reminds us of ourselves, isn't it? That reflection reminds us of ourselves. And right now, what is the reflection reminding us? That we are a body, isn't it? That we have a nose, we have eyes, we have forehead, we have this hairstyle, that hairstyle, I have to shave this, I have to shave that. And slowly, so he doesn't like himself. No, I think I am growing a stubble. I doesn't like nice, I like smooth. So immediately he takes one layer off and he sees in the reflection and he doesn't like who he is looking at, so he shaves it off, isn't it? Same way. Why you are on a spiritual path? Because you want to be perfect. So you look into the mirror, I'm still the body. Which mirror? In the mirror of your mind. I'm still attached to this, I must give up this. I'm still attached, I must give up. No, but I can't. Okay, I'll remember the divine. And you start, and you continue, and continue, and continue, and continue. And slowly, I'm just taking this example, that whatever you don't like, you try to shave it off. That razor is the thought of the divine. It keeps erasing whatever you don't want. First the senses, then the mind, then the unwanted intellectual convictions, and only one is left. What is that? I am the reality. Reality I am I. This is that. It's still a thought. That's the last conviction left. You have shaved off everything else and you are looking into the mirror and you say, yes, it's good. But still I am seeing a reflection, little bit scar is there, and that scar is called this is that. What do I do? And you keep thinking about it, and now there is no tool which can remove that. Intellect has to surrender. Intellect merges, and when it merges, when you realize that, all the scars are gone, you're still looking into the mirror of the mind. Till now, till that last thought, it was the ego which was looking. Ego was not liking what it was looking at itself as. But when that last thought goes, suddenly the position changes. That ego transforms itself into the reality, and that reality is reflecting. And the moment it reflects, it says, I have got no scar left. I'm using the word that it is saying, it will not say that, but it likes what is reflected back. Why? It is completely pure. It is completely, what is the word? Immaculate. No truti, no scar of any type. And that's the effulgence that it is looking at. And after that, there is nothing to be done. And this is how it recognizes itself. But till the last thought, the ego is looking at itself in the mirror of the mind. And then, now we'll take another example and see the parallels here. The sun is reflecting in the waters of a bucket. And the water is shaking. Why? That bucket is on the train. And from the window, the sun is shining and he's saying, "Hey, why am I moving? I don't know. Please, someone stop this. I'm breaking up into too many pieces. Please help me, help me, help me." And the ego is miserable. Which is the ego? The one which is breaking up. The sun, reflection of the sun in the water is breaking up, and he's saying, "Oh, I want to stop, please, this. And eventually, somehow, the train comes to stop. And at that very moment, the water stops shaking. What will happen? The same sun, which was seemingly broken on account of various waves in the water, is now a complete orb in the waters, isn't it? Till the orb was broken, the sun was that reflection was saying, "Oh, I need to be perfect. I don't know. I'm this or I'm that or I'm this or I'm that," because so many waves in the water. And when all the waves have subsided, all the disturbances have subsided, all the scars on the water called the mind have gone away, at that very moment, the reality, the sun, and the reflection of the sun, they become one and the same. Only at that moment, that reflection can recognize that I am that real sun. Till then it cannot. Why? Because it's too many places it is broken. Even if one cut is there in that reflection, it compares. "Arey, nahi yaar, I don't think so, I'm that." It cannot become one with that. Only when the waters of the bucket are quiet, calm, the entire reflection recognizes that it's originally the sun. Exactly the same way. All the scars of your mind, all the concepts meaning the concepts, ideas, emotions, when they calm down, and you cannot calm them down, the only thing that can calm down is your desire to know the ultimate truth. And when that calms down, the reflected self is able to, it's complete, there is no disturbance. At that very moment, it recognizes that it is the original. As if it is seeing itself in a clear mirror. You can look at it in this way also. The mirror is dirty, and on that dirty mirror you are looking, "Oh, I am like a ghost." And you start cleaning. Efforts. And once the mirror is clean, and you say, "Oh, I am really the handsome one," then will you keep cleaning the glass? Efforts are over. Same way, the reality, till it is expressing as the ego, it will put efforts to know the reality. But once all the impurities on account of which that reflected self, that reflected reality in the mind was as if appearing to be distorted, that distorted reality is called ego. See? Too much? Too much? Too heavy?
No, it's not too heavy. I'm heavy.
Okay. See, at that very moment, it recognizes that I am the original. And that recognition is without a thought. Thought doesn't need to be there. Because the sun there and the total reflection of the sun here in the waters, calm waters, is exactly the replica. No distortion. Same way, in the mirror of the mind, when the mind is completely purified, at that very moment, the exact replica, the reflected consciousness recognizes, I am the total, I am the real. And that is called knowing the self. Till now you are knowing the self as ego. When everything is purified and the merging takes place, that means the last scar is removed, last thought is removed, that I want to know who I am, like this Nachiketa is asking. Still the thought is there. He is very single pointed, but the thought is there. So he's asked for the help. This is why the teacher is required. Because by ourselves we can never get there. So the teacher says and you are intuiting. He will keep saying it from different angles. And a teacher knows what could be the obstacle in the way the student is progressing. And when that happens, the abidance takes place. And from then on, for such a person, there is no birth whatsoever. So, yatha adarshe, meaning yatha adarshe is like a mirror, tathatmani, you recognize yourself as the Brahman, sees oneself as the reality. Yatha swapne tatha pitruloke. Now once we have understood this, there are other areas that if you are seeking the world of the ancestors, well, all your desires will be fulfilled. Then there, how do you recognize yourself as? You recognize as you are recognizing yourself in a dream. How do you recognize yourself in a dream? Too many things passing by in one. You can't even put the head and tail of everything. So many desires trying to be fulfilling at the same time. Like that. Like you experience a dream, like that because dream is also a reflection of the mind. You are the dreamer, and that you itself have become the dreamer, and your mind itself has become the dream world with all its variety. So what is the experience? You know what the experience is. That is how the experience is in the world of ancestors. And when you go to the Gandharvas are the celestial musicians, and there when you go, you are like you see your reflection in the water. How do you see your reflection in the water? Continuously moving. Wave after wave after. You can't see your, it's fluid. And that fluidity is experienced is reflected in the abode of the musicians, celestial musicians, where the nymphs are continuously, beautiful girls, they are continuously playing music and smiling at you. And you don't know what to do, and you are also flowing away. And, and the last is the Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is the total mind now. Total mind is one step below the mirror example. One step below. What do you experience there yourself as? You experience yourself as the light and shade. You experience yourself as the light, and you experience everything else as the shade. Because abidance hasn't taken place yet. Or you can't say abidance hasn't taken place. So everything is seen as the whole world is seen as a shadow of yourself. As if. Is there any other light which is putting the shadow? No. Just like a light and a shadow appear together, light and day. The day is there and the night is there. Again, this is an example to bring across an idea and a principle. Just like a day is there and a night is there. Similarly, now even in the diffuse light, this camera stand is having some shade somewhere, isn't it? Are they separable? Can you separate the shade from the what is getting reflected? No. Same way, the light and can you separate day and night? They are eternally married to each other. What can they do? Because we are talking about relative world. Huh? The total mind, there is also relativity functioning in total mind. You have not gone beyond relativity. And the relativity is at the totality level, not individual level, but at totality level. And therefore we say the creator will in the end of the time merge back into the reality. So there, what is the experience? That of light and shade. Here what does he say about light and shade? Let me see. Where is it? As distinctly as light is separated from darkness, but it is reached only with great effort, one should try to realize him in the self itself. So here one more thing that they are talking about is that it is fascinating to think about the world with the nymphs, angels, beautiful girls singing music and luring you and entertaining you for a long period of time. If you have got merits, then you will go there for as long as your merit lasts, and that was your desire. If you have enough merits and you have desired to go to the abode of the mains, heaven of the mains, or if you have the merits and you have put enough efforts to get to the total mind state, you will enjoy it. But this journey, it is called Krama Mukti, step by step liberation, to go and experience each world one by one by one by one. Those who have practiced Kundalini Yoga, they know how difficult it is. When that energy will come down, we have no control over it. And it is a painful affair to go through the whole thing. The mind goes reeling, the energies go haywire, sometimes you are hungry, sometimes you are not hungry, sometimes there is sleep, sometimes there is no sleep, sometimes the feeling of going through a black hole, sometimes the experience of light, sometimes hearing this, sometimes hearing that, so many different experiences. And if you don't know about them, that what is happening to you, you can be very, very nonplussed. You can get scared. So rather than go through all these, I want to know what is the Muladhara chakra, I want to know what is Swadhisthana chakra, I want to know what is Manipur chakra. And each chakra you want to see and experience, and then I want to reach here. Why don't you go straight away there? Are you interested in the picking the leaves, or you are interested in the flower? Are you interested in the thorns, or you are interested in the flower? So go to your goal straight away. So this journey is wrought with many, many difficulties and takes a long time. And why does it take a long time? Because to get to the abode of total mind, that is God mind, which is the total mind, to get there you must have accrued enough merits to warranty your entry, the ego's entry into that world. Until unless you have not lived a pure life, you cannot enter into the abode of the God. We are talking about total mind, don't confuse. And in the total mind, there is still, you are there, and your expansion of the world is there. The created world is there. Yes, you are the creator, no doubt, once you recognize that. But we want to, here it is told, bypass all that. And that's why in Vedanta, we do not encourage experiencing the total mind. You come to the individual mind, drop the body, drop the breath, drop the mind, come to the intellect, make the intellect single pointed on the truth and merge into the truth. Forget about the total mind. It will be yours anyway once you know the truth, because that truth is the father of this total mind. The total mind cannot express without the truth. So in this way, you can bypass. When you come to Sydney, or from Sydney you come here, there are 2 or 3 places where you bypass. You don't have to go through the city. Why you don't have to go through city? There are too many red lights, there are too many pedestrians, there are too many people. So they have built the bypass. What happens then? Your speed is not slowed down. You can maintain 110 speed continuously. No, but little extra petrol will be utilized. Why? Extra 10 kilometers. Okay, spend that extra 10 kilometer extra petrol. Meaning, if you take the bypass from this total mind, you will have to spend extra energy to think about that one reality, to the exclusion of everything else. So do that, but it is beneficial. Because now if that was the only way to go through the total mind, then imagine your body can't even handle one chakra to the next. That much disturbance will take place. So why you want to go into that? Drop it. Instead, make your mind single pointed on the reality and let the journey begin. This way, and in the total mind, what happens? In that process of step-by-step liberation, when you reach the total mind, there all your desires are satisfied. Yes, they will be satisfied. But the thought of realization will not come until and unless the grace of the grace doesn't fall upon you. When the grace comes, then alone at the end of time, you will turn your face towards the reality. But otherwise, you are enjoying because there is no death in that total mind. Relative death, what we see here. So don't get into that. And this way, this verse explains that the reality is seen in the self as one sees oneself in the mirror, and that should be clear from what we have explained. And we'll see the next verse tomorrow, which will be the 6th verse. Indriyanam prutak bhavam udayastamayo chayata pruthak utpadyamananam matva dhiro na shochati. A wise man, knowing well the separateness of the existence of senses and their appearance and disappearance to be other than the self, grieves no more for them. What it means we will see tomorrow morning. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.